This means not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you.
Hello my friends, I'm Darth Paradigm. I'm finally getting around to reviewing my Ultimate Works Master Q. This saber and I have been on an adventure. When I received it, it worked. It worked very well. And it didn't have any fonts on it. This saber is utilizing a Profi board. I don't have the technology available, nor do I have the technical acumen right now to install sound fonts and profiles. So we sent this to Wild Space Outpost, and they installed all the requisite sound fonts that I would need on my saber. And then when I received the saber, the speaker went on it. So it was down for the count for quite some time. I went back and forth with the Pach Store. They weren't really too forthcoming in helping me. But then Wild Space Outpost, they ended up fixing the saber, and it's been working fine ever since, and I've fallen in love with it. So the hilt is about 11.5 inches long. And forgive me, I've kind of forewent my usual showcasing method of showing photos and videos, and I'm just going to do that for you here right now in an attempt to, hopefully keep the video a little bit on the short side, although that never seems to work out. As you can see, this is a deep grooved version of Qui Gon's hilt, which doesn't leave too much room for the install. Indeed, a lot of the electronics are actually situated underneath the grip, down here in this area. Whoop, down there in that area. That's where all the soundboard and a lot of the material is, and everything's wired to the speaker here. There's a port, which I'll show you later, for accessing the soundboard, and this is all pretty much battery right here. And of course you have your switch apparatus underneath this big red button. And a lot of people don't like the big red button, or as the doctor would say, big red threatening button. He can't resist one of those. I like it. I don't mind it at all. The button's very sturdy on this particular hilt. I have a Corbanth Qui Gon Jinn, which is very similar. The hilt isn't exactly the same. There are very, very subtle differences. The switch is one of them. But this is a very solid functioning button. And I won't do that again because the camera is playing games. Anyway, so I'll just let you see this thing, drink it in. It is a very, very chromy sheath, shroud, what have you, which is removable. And it is the requisite fingerprint magnet. Here's the auxiliary button for activating all the various and sundry features. And a lot of people don't really enjoy the design of Qui Gon's hilt, while others, like myself, find it particularly fetching and very, very enthralling. And this has always been kind of one of my dream sabers, which is why I'm sort of hoarding a collection of Qui Gon Jinn sabers. I have, like I said, I have the Ultimate Works Master Q version. I have a Corbanth version. I have an empty 89 Sabers hilt, which I'm going to have installed with something someday. I have a Qui Gon Jinn-esque saber from JQ Sabers. I have Ultra Sabers, Consular. I'm kind of an addict to just the simplicity and the comfort of this hilt. Let's swing this around for a little bit, and then we'll go to part 2 of the video where we get a little bit more technical. Now, this is not the loudest saber. The vents here sort of prevent it from being too terribly loud. Plus, the place from the speaker is a little bit recessed into the hilt and obscured by the USB port, which again I'll show you in the next part of the video. It does have another pommel, which is flat, which has an effect on the acoustics of the hilt, but at risk of potentially damaging the speaker, which I don't want to do again. I just keep this pommel on and deal with the volume as given to me, which is, as I've said before, sufficient. So I'll just show you the other side, and then we'll go to part 2 of the video. Clunk. And there you have it. So, on to part 2. So, now I'm going to show you how to access the battery and the chassis inside the saber. I'm not going to take the whole thing apart because it's a little bit inconvenient to do so. You have to remove the cover tech, take off the pommel. I will take off the pommel because I want to show you. Okay, so there's 2 pommels for this thing. There's this one, sort of a pepper shaker version. This is not the loudest saber in the world. In comes the closed version of the pommel, which actually, when you install the closed pommel, it actually has the effect of sort of forcing the sound back into the saber and out the sides, which makes it a little bit louder. But I don't want to risk damaging the speaker any more than I have to, because I went through a great deal of effort to get the saber up and running, and that involved replacing the speaker. So I'd rather have a saber that's not terribly loud and works than one that is loud for a little while and then has to be sent out for repairs again, because that's a bit inconvenient. But you can see the inside of the chassis here, and you can hopefully make sense of what's going on. You can't really see the speaker, but there's the USB port, which I can actually access because this being a Profi saber and my laptop being woefully outdated, I can't actually access the soundboard through the port there. So I have the fonts installed on here that I want. That was done by Wild Space Outpost. So I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, so once you remove the pommel, and you can remove this, the cover tech wheel, the sheath slides off, and you gain access to the soundboard and everything, which is all down here. But as I said, I'm not going to do that, and I just keep this pommel on here to hopefully encourage the longevity of this saber, because I rather enjoy it, and I like to keep it up and running. So it does use a normal size hex key right here to remove the blade. You don't actually need to remove the blade, which I'm not going to do. All you have to do, and pardon the squeakiness, it is going to be potentially very loud, and that just comes off, and as you can see, it's hollow. You can see the bottom of the blade. And here's the chassis. You can see the plus. They hand painted that onto the chassis, so when you remove the battery, you know which way to put the battery into the chassis so as to not fry the soundboard. And this just pops out, very much like the Styria heart or the Profi heart on a you know, one of the Pach Store's other sabers that utilizes that system. Has the same basic style of connectors. However, it's not a chassis which includes everything. It just holds the battery, and the battery pops out by just pushing at the back, and then you kind of lift it out, and then you put it into a little bit of a recharger. So like I said, whenever you're inserting the batteries, you definitely want to make sure that you know which way the battery goes in, because you don't want to fry the soundboard. It is very easy to do that. So first thing I do is I locate my positive and negative symbols here. The positive is this end, so this will go in thusly. And I am OCD enough that I like those symbols to be visually apparent in said chassis when I put them in. Anyway, so the chassis does contain the pixel pins, the whatever you want to call them, those are called pogo pins, whatever they're called. And you can see possibly the end of the soundboard, maybe. I don't know if the light strikes it just right. And when you insert this in, you should hear a noise that indicates that it has received the battery. It has power, so you can just carefully. Again, I apologize for the squeakies. It will be loud. Now I could go in there and, you know, put some kind of, you know, grease or something, or another kind of lubricant, but I don't want this to actually be loose. And the threading is actually smooth. It's just, it's noisy, that's all. So it's not really an issue, at least not before and after it's been done. And now, so this just activates the saber, holding it, deactivates the saber.
You must have Jedi reflexes if you're response. Don't do that again.
So as you saw, tapping it with this particular font activates
We have no army.
Quotes.
I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for you.
And if I hold this for just a few seconds, not with this sound font apparently, which is just fine. I don't want to get copyright strike, but I have two Qui Gon sound fonts on here. One of them actually has a music track. It's what do they call it? I can't remember what it's called. It's the fight music from A Phantom Menace. Duel of the Fates, I believe it's called. Yes. So when you're using the saber, one wants to have Duel of the Fates on while they're swinging it around. So obviously it does have smooth swing. Clash. You have an auxiliary button for blaster block, lock up, and tip drag, and all the various and sundry features that come with a Profi board. Changing fonts is just a matter of.
Greed can be a powerful ally.
So now we can hear this. And then off.
We have no army, and I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for
And this saber is set to go into deep sleep after something like 5 minutes. It's not. It doesn't have to be on for terribly long. So, the battery life is pretty decent on this thing. I don't know. I think I have maybe 20, 25 sound fonts on here. I'm not going to go through them all, obviously. I'm just going to show you the Qui Gons and just sort of leave it at that. So that pretty much covers the mechanical portion of this video.